Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Excalibur Roundtable Tech Talk. I am Mike Fuson. We're going to continue our extended Tech Talk series with our friends from CG4, and I'm joined today by Will Barrowes from CG4. Will, great to see you.
Good to see you, Mike.
And one of the things that folks ask us about, in our first episode, we talked a little bit about how does CG4 come into being, and what is barcode scanning, and we talked a little bit about something that we all experience and all know. But how does this apply to tracking of IT assets? That's one thing we're going to talk about. But for our folks that are watching, I want them to think about it. It's not just limited IT assets, right? That's why it's called not IT asset tracking. It's asset tracking because it could really be any asset that you want to track. But we're going to talk about some use cases around IT, and obviously that can be extrapolated out to other things. And one of the use cases is doing a data center true up or a data center inventory. We've got all kinds of racks of servers and switches and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, there's all this different equipment that we have in the room, and hopefully, they might have asset tags that we're using, but we know at very least they're usually going to have a serial number, barcode that are on them. And so we're able to go through with our barcode scanner and very quickly scan an entire rack, and then scan the next rack, and scan the next rack, and scan the next rack. And we're able to do a lot of things with this data. One, we could compare what's in this data center to what's supposed to be in this data center, and are there things that are here that aren't supposed to be here, or things that are missing? Hey, there's 2 servers that are supposed to be here. Where are they?
Yeah, the management would tend to look down on that if they don't know where their servers are.
But one of the things, though, that one of the keys is that CG4 starts to bring forward that capability to really, and I just had a conversation with a client on this the other day, and I always, and I did a bunch of episodes on the CMDB and why it can be so central, why it is so central for many customers to running their operation. And one of the keys is I liken a CMDB to a garden. If it goes untended, it's going to grow weeds, and the weeds just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we have so many customers where the story is we're doing really well for a couple months at our CMDB, then we kind of, got a little lazy, and then all of a sudden our CMDB we had to just start over because it was a mess. And what CG4 does is allows you to take away some of the parts where people go, we need you to do a data center inventory. Oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? Days, weeks?
Some people, just following in on your thought there, some people say, you know what, I have so little confidence in the data in my system, I want to use the scanners and go through and add every single asset from scratch so that I know I've got solid data 100% in what I have. Absolutely,
it's a great way to start, right? If you're just standing up your CMDB, but so often they're standing up their CMDB for the second, third, fourth, God forbid, fifth or sixth time. But what it allows you to do in this instance, in this use case we're talking about, is to very quickly grab all of the data from what's in there and then start to reconcile that, because the majority of it should be accurate. But
I mean, if you just took the time to weed that garden and, put a little, weed killer in there, just the gentle weed killer, you'd have great, accurate data. Just performing one of these regular audits like every month or every quarter or something like that, or even annually would be good for some customers.
Well, but
keep your garden clean.
Yeah, but if you think about it in the gardening analogy, right? Doing it in a more manual fashion with the hoe to prep the ground. When I bring CG4 in, I'm bringing in the gasoline-powered rototiller.
Oh yeah.
Right. I can have that ground prepared in no time. And then as I move forward and I'm managing that, I'm able to very easily manage it. Are there servers that have been moved and they're not in the same rack or in the same U position in the rack that I was expecting? And I can true that up within my data. Hey, the server's where it's supposed to be in the right data center, but it's been moved from one rack to another. Because sometimes as you're troubleshooting a problem and you may have to go to the physical hardware, knowing where it is, especially in some of these larger data centers, do you want to hard target search it from from cage to cage, or do you want to know it should be in cage 6 in U12?
If you know exactly where it is, that saves so much time, and especially if it's in a critical, time-sensitive situation, you don't need your people wasting time hunting for something that was supposed to be in this rack, but yet it's not there. And what kind of problems are going to result from that? The customer is dying because something's down and you can't get to it.
Right, exactly. And
go ahead.
No, so one of the things I look at is it really gives us that ability to do something that can be labor and time intensive, which is a cost, to lower. That's where a lot of our ROI comes from, is the things that it does that help us lower the amount of time to do things, and they're no longer completely manual. We're leveraging technology as an assist to make this happen very quickly. And we're going to be going through all sorts of other use cases where the technology makes things so much faster for people to do it, and not just the folks in IT, but folks that are on receiving docks and in warehouses and other things that are able to be part of that chain and helping us make sure our CMDB is clean and up to date.
Just one thing to toss in there is doing these regular inventories and audits, like in this data center example that we're talking about here. If you're doing it manually, it's going to give brain damage to the guys that are out there having to do the work, and it's going to be very tedious, very slow. Then you add in barcode scanning capability. They walk up to that rack, they scan it, and then they scan the 20 items in that rack. That verifies that they're all found in that place. You can have the scanner tell you if this was not expected to be found in this rack, pop up a little message on the screen. And it just makes it so much quicker. Like you say, it's the power equipment coming in and helping out. But one other thought that occurred to me was one of our customers decided to use RFID. And so when they go out and inventory their data center, when we first got it set up for them in their test environment, they said, all right, we're going to go out and inventory a few things. They went out and inventoried something like 2,500 assets, and probably a space of an hour and a half, just going around reading, pulling the RFID trigger, and that was like using jet fuel in that rototiller.
And that's the idea of what we're really looking at, is we're looking at a tool that enhances the capabilities for organizations to keep things straight. And we're talking about our assets, and these are things that cost money, cost the business money, and all too often we're having to replace an asset because the asset has gone missing. Or one of the other examples that we use is knowing that the asset's not where it's supposed to be, so we can find it, because we may have a fiduciary or legal responsibility to make known that something's not is misplaced, and be able to take proper actions as a result. So Will, thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure.
Same here, Mike. It's always interesting to see what kind of parallels we come up with while we're talking about asset tracking things.
Absolutely. Now, for those out there watching, stay tuned. Will and I will be doing a number of episodes where we're going to talk about many of the different use cases that we see CG4 used for. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.